Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special project that I have been working on for quite some time now. And if you do not know, one of my favorite hack and slash games of all time would definitely have to be Metal Gear Rising. It's a phenomenal game, a game about political corruption as well as certain societal practices that should be brought into question. And if you haven't played it, I'd highly recommend plugging in that 360 and doing so. It is so very much worth it. Though considering that the Series X is going to allow you to play games from last gen on that console, you may very well be able to get a really good experience that way. But enough about that, let's get back to this game and what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So we all know that this year has been quite the interesting one indeed, from viruses to violence, and if I'm not mistaken, even beginning threats of World War III were talked about in the beginning of 2020. So a lot is currently happening in today's world. And, what really got me thinking was about how this really can correlate to Metal Gear Rising right now. This speech that you may or may not be reading to, for example. If one simply changed, what the war would be about, and applied, say, race or police brutality and whatnot, we would then see how the bill fits, how people are using something tragic like police brutality as an excuse to talk about wanting a civil war. We can talk about how people on the left and right want a war and stuff like that. So the conversation between Senator Armstrong and Raiden, wanting a war isn't necessarily something that we could just take and just, brush aside like, oh, it's just a video game. And even the song that I'm about to start playing for you guys called Collective Consciousness really fits that bill really well. And it hammers in the nail that is the current way of thinking about everything. So I'm going to let you guys have a listen to this for yourself, and I'm going to pause and play in between segments so I can explain what the lyrics relate to in these current days. And I know that's gonna suck if you really want to listen to it, but trust me and just bear with me for now, and let's give this a listen, shall we? Now, just taking a moment, I listened to that beginning segment a few times to really just think about all the ways that it is relevant. It starts off by telling us the unenlightened masses, me and you, perhaps the average people, can't make the judgment call. That can be correlated to thinking for yourself. It then tells us to give up free will forever. Their voices won't be heard at all. Now, just think about social media right now. Whenever someone questions how the pandemic is being handled by the government, or even how the election was conducted, they are censored and removed, or even outright terminated, It continues owing to not stepping out of line, perhaps being incentivized through the uses of the punishments and results of not wearing your mask, as well as speaking out against the government, again, on social media. And finishes with that we should blindly swear allegiance and let our country control our mind, and let our country control our souls. The next set of lyrics talk about living in ignorance, and we see that these days especially, how we are just supposed to believe what the government tells us and not look up things for ourselves. Saying, purchase your happiness, perhaps through the use of entertainment, food, pleasurable things, etc. Going back to that speech that was made between Armstrong and Raiden talking about materialism, which is ever so prevalent today in these times. The next lines talk about when blood and sweat is the real cost, thinking ceases, the truth is lost. And we see that many people just blindly submitting to something that is clearly wrong out of fear of what could happen to them. Then says, don't you worry, you'll be told exactly what to do. I give my people the lives they need, as in they assume that they are the lives that we need. The righteous will succeed, as in the self-righteous. The lines then go, "The fires of greed will burn the weak, so we will make freedom obsolete." Perhaps this can be correlated to the government, in using this virus as an excuse to gain more control. The weak being those who will blindly follow in this case, and freedom that is made obsolete through doing so. Then goes, making whole the fabric of society. Perhaps this can be correlated about the damage that has been done through these viruses and the lockdowns, which has devastated multiple economies, as well as the violent mobs that need to be quelled. But that's about it. That's all I really wanted to cover, was the stark contrast between what is currently happening in today's world and the fact that Metal Gear Rising, a game that came out, I think, in 2013, has pretty much indirectly predicted what was going to be taking place in 2020 and 2021 likely, since I highly doubt that this is going to be let up. This video is not done in any way to try and fearmonger people, as YouTube will likely probably interpret it as, because thanks, this platform's amazing. But nonetheless, I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I'm honestly just going to let the rest of this song play so that you can hear it all at once, instead of having it segmented, so that you can come to your own conclusions when you hear it all together. So I'll let that play out, and thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next time.